Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our first episode ever of the Ballz Deep Podcast. I'm Ryan.
This is Chris.
And welcome. So, let me tell you a little bit about our podcast. We're a sports podcast based in Chicago. We're going to be covering all topics from the NFL to the MLB, NBA, NHL, MMA. Everything you could think of. We are a true sports podcast. So, let's get into our first topic. All right, Chris?
All right. Football is the first thing at hand for us today. We're going to go through all the scores of week 1, and we're going to give all the biggest scoops for each team.
All right, let's get into this first matchup that we had here. The Chiefs and Texans. Chiefs won 34-20. Any big talking points that you feel, Chris?
Billy O'Brien. Doesn't look like that trade's going to be a good workout for him.
Yeah, Bill O'Brien over there in the Texans corner, not doing the greatest. I don't know why the Texans keep on going back to him. He needs to get out of town. He's been needing to get out of town. They finally have a franchise QB in Deshaun Watson. He's the truth, ladies and gentlemen. He is the absolute truth.
David Johnson looks like he might have a resurgence.
David Johnson's looking good. And on the other side of the ball, Pat Mahomes is Pat Mahomes. He is who we thought he was.
The $500 million man.
All right, let's get into a little bit of the next one, ladies and gentlemen, all right?
Bills and Jets.
Bills 27, Jets 17.
Adam Gase is hot trash.
Adam Gase has been hot trash. We all knew this. The Jets are hot trash. The Jets will be the worst team in the NFL this year. That's right, not the Jags. The Jets will be the worst team in the NFL.
I mean, he's great as a QB coach, maybe even an offensive coordinator. I just don't think he has the respect of the locker room to be a NFL coach.
What the reports came out earlier where he wouldn't come into team meetings and speak. The team had to do it themselves. He is not a leader. He will not lead that team to anything.
Up next, with the Packers and Vikings, Aaron Rodgers is coming for you.
Aaron Rodgers is mad right now. I will say that. And being from Chicago, it makes me a little scared. Just a little bit. But Aaron Rodgers is scary. And the Vikings, no slouch. They got 34 points on the Packers, but the Vikings aren't up to par with what they were.
Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers is going to be deadly this year.
But that's the thing. Are they a one-trick pony, or has Valdez-Scantling and Lazard shown that they could be a viable
Lazard is showing
now?
some promise. Lazard's definitely showing promise. Aaron Jones needs to be the bell cow. He just needs, when Rodgers is off the game or it turns to snow weather, you got to count on Aaron Jones to start running that rock.
I mean, of course, that's what they're planning on. Now, if it's going to hold up, if their offensive line is going to hold up for the whole year, we don't know. Again, folks, no preseason. We're going to talk about that a little bit more as we get into some of these matchups. But everything is brand new.
All right. Coming up next, the TBDs and the Eagles.
When he say TBD, he means the Washington football team. Call them by their names.
To be decided. They might just stick with this name knowing how Dan Snyder is.
They're calling for Dan Snyder to leave. You know
They're
that, right?
They're not going to get him to leave.
I hope they get him to leave, but let's talk about this game a little bit, all right? 27-17, the Washington football team won the game. Surprisingly.
Dwayne Haskins, with Ron Rivera getting an IV at halftime, Dwayne Haskins led a fiery speech and willed 27 unanswered points against the Eagles and Carson Wentz.
So do you think Dwayne Haskins is now the truth? Or?
We'll see. I mean, he's way better than I thought he was going to be. Maybe now since he has Alex Smith backing him up with some veteran leadership, he's getting to see more coverages that he didn't see last year. But we just have to see. I want to see him use his legs a little bit more to evade. But I'm liking what I'm seeing from the Washington football team.
And on the other side of the ball, the Eagles, dreadful. Dreadful showing. I mean, that was absolutely abysmal. You had the team by the throat, and you let up. You just couldn't finish. And I don't know if the absence of Miles Sanders was a big factor of that. I don't know if the absence of Alshon Jeffrey was a big factor in that. But they need to pull it together. You still have Carson Wentz, who at one point before he got injured had an MVP-like year.
Overhyped. That man is overhyped now.
That could be a fair assessment. But you also have Zach Ertz in the mix, too. You have a bona fide number 3 tight end in the league where you're just not feeding him. You're not getting it to him. You're not making plays. I don't know what Doug Pearson's doing. Maybe he needs Nick Foles back. Maybe he needs that extra security blanket so that Carson feels safe. I don't know. But that was an abysmal showing from the Eagles. Again, it's going to be the NFC least up there. Yep. And no team is going to look good from that division. I can already tell you now.
Talking about abysmal performances, here come the Browns and the Ravens.
Oh.
And wow, was this a shellacking.
Yeah, no, this game was over before it even started. I mean, everyone pretty much knew that the Ravens, Lamar's looking like Lamar. He's doing everything he did last year. The MVP performance, the second coming of...
Mike Vick.
You think Mike Vick?
Who else can we compare him to?
The second coming of Jesus Christ. Let me tell you that.
God.
Mahomes is a pure QB that could do wild things. Lamar Jackson is a different gear. Lamar Jackson is a different animal.
Lamar is what RG3 was supposed to be.
Yes.
The throwing and the running.
Yes.
And that's why RG3's backing him up.
That could be true. It must be hard for RG3 to be on that bench and be like, I don't know. I could have done that if I didn't blow out my knee.
If no one tackled me.
Yeah, that was. But looking at the Brown side of the ball,
they just pulled a whole Odell on the field.
Wow. You're going to bring that up?
Bring it right up.
Oh, man. All right, well.
Always knew he was a number 2 receiver. Always knew it.
Baker Mayfield came out and said after the game that he can't force throws to Odell. You can force throws to Odell. Let me tell you this, Baker. He makes wild catches because he's Odell Beckham Jr. And besides that, you have Jarvis Landry, the most bona fide number 2 wide receiver in the league. You got to throw the ball, man. And you can't be throwing it 30 yards downfield for incompletions. You got to learn from Tom Brady and Bill Belichick for a minute and dink and dunk.
Not only that, they can run a 2-wide, 2 tight end formation with Austin Hooper and Njoku.
They also have Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt in the backfield.
And Nick Chubb almost cost me fantasy this game.
Well, we'll get into that a little bit later, maybe even a different podcast. We'll sprinkle in some fantasy, folks. Don't think that we're not in a league. So, moving on to the next game. Jags and Colts, 27-20.
Minshew Mania.
Minshew Mania is running wild with no Leonard Fournette, no viable wide receiver option except for DJ Chark, who is showing to have some promise.
Let's do this, brother. Let's do it.
I personally think that Minshew needs... I think Minshew either needs to get traded or he should demand a trade because he is way better than the Jags are planning to have him in their future.
He is, if he does this with no one except for Chark, he is going to be what Baker has right now with all those commercials. They're going to drop Baker and they're going to bring in the Minshew Mania.
I hope they do. The man's showing promise. He's showing that he's a scrapper. He's a fighter. He's going to go out there, no matter what his team is, no matter what the organization does, that even if he has to go out there, throw the ball, and catch it himself, he's going to make some goddamn plays. And he's going to fight his heart out to get that money. Because we all know he's just playing for a contract in, 2 more years?
They also
3
can
more years?
franchise him, though. So it's not a guaranteed he's going to get out, but we'll see what they do with his future.
Listen,
the Colts, though.
The Colts. Old Man Rivers needs to
get out. On my Old Man Rivers.
Get on the ferry boat and go retire already.
His running back got hurt.
And his other running back did work. You just replaced a cowbell running back with a receiving running back, and Phillip Rivers loves to check it down. We all know that because his arm isn't what it used to be. If he even had an arm back in the day, folks.
How dare you?
He is garbage. He is garbage. He is one of those quarterbacks that you respect, but you do not put in the Hall of Fame. He will not make it. He should not make it. He is garbage. He never won a ring. He never won anything. Phillip Rivers is just an old-time quarterback that needs to leave.
You might need to leave, sir. I'm offended.
You could be offended all you want.
Anyway, moving past to the Raiders. The Las Vegas Raiders with John Gruden.
John Gruden.
Give me some Las Vegas Raiders, baby.
No, do not give me some Las Vegas Raiders.
What?
Listen, they went against the Panthers in Teddy Bridgewater, Christian McCaffrey, who is a bona fide stud, and Robbie Anderson, who surprised us all this week.
Saved me. Saved me.
Saved Chris from a defeat in fantasy, I'll tell you that.
Saved me. But Derek Carr putting up some points.
Looking good.
Looking good in the Gruden offense now, and they just need a pure number one. If they get...
they had it.
Yeah, it wasn't their fault. Pittsburgh was just that good at holding everything down with him. Antonio Brown should not be put back in this league. But that's for another time and date.
Antonio Brown will never come back in this league.
Good riddance.
All right, let's keep on moving on here to the Seahawks and Falcons. Seahawks 38, Falcons 25.
Russell Wilson finally got the keys. Pete Carroll finally said, "Take me home." And Russell Wilson said, "Okay, Jesus, take the wheel," with his tweet.
No. Listen, Russell Wilson is a Hall of Famer. Russell Wilson will be a first ballot Hall of Famer when he's done. Pete Carroll, he's a great coach. He's a player's coach.
He's getting in. There's no way you can keep him out.
Of course. Now that Pete Carroll finally trusts Russell Wilson, I guess you could say. I mean, I'm sure he trusted him, but he's just throwing all his force into him.
Yeah, there's nowhere else. There's no beast mode. Chris Carson can only go so much. You got DK Metcalf. You can't feed Metcalf without giving it to Wilson.
Exactly. You have Lockett and Metcalf on the outside. Those are two monsters that nobody wants to go against. Their defense is looking all right. You know, it's still early. But on the other side, the Falcons and their new look running back Todd Gurley, who performed decently. He performed decently. You think he has no knees, I understand.
He's got as much knees as I do. That's sad.
Either way, I think that Todd Gurley will have a respectable year this year.
Okay.
A respectable
Do you
year.
think he's going to miss any games?
I think he might miss 2 games.
I'm going on record by saying he's going to get hurt and miss 5 games. 3 because he will be hurt.
Okay.
And 2 because they're going to be like, no, let's not push him.
Well, here's the thing. Last year, the Falcons started off 1-7. They're already
0-1.
They're already 0-1.
I mean, Matty Ice just has to get out of there. He has to go have his last hurrah somewhere else. I would not be surprised if Matty Ice gets out and Cam doesn't want to go back to the Patriots. Oh, the Patriots are just a whole different animal. Leading into next is the Patriots and the Dolphins.
So, are we going to call it that
it's
Belichick?
It's too early.
Belichick can have any quarterback and make it work?
I don't think you have any quarterback. Let me put it this way.
We thought Stidham was going to be the next Brady at a point.
He still could be.
Exactly. You want to know why? Because he was in Belichick's system.
Well, I mean, let's get this straight. Stidham saw how Brady operated, and now he's seeing how Cam's operating. He needs to take the best of both worlds if he ends up being the starter next year. The big story with Cam, did that year off treat him well?
Yeah, he could rest his back, his neck, his head, his knees, his legs. Everything about him got a rest. Finally. And he didn't have to take a sack or any other hit.
Well, he also didn't take a sack because he was running it again. That was the big. I think that was the biggest thing that he was missing back in the last 2 years of Carolina. When he ran, he just looked like he was carrying a piano on his back. He looked old. He looked out of shape.
Because of all the hits.
But we'll see. I mean, I still have my questions on him with Julian Edelman, N'Keal Harry.
Sure.
They're all possession receivers, and they're all running precise routes. They're not really ab-libbing any route with Cam. So Cam needs to put it on the money every time. We'll see how it goes. I'm rooting for him, but I just don't have the most confidence with him.
I think that this year is Cam proving to the Patriots that he still has at least 3 more years in him. The Patriots are going... Oh, yeah. At least. You know the Patriots... The Patriots are not going to lock him down for a long term. You know that. You know The Patriots will not lock him down. I think they're going to lock him down for a 3-year modest contract. You know, he's not going to get paid any huge bucks. And that's what Cam's fighting for right now. Now, whether those 3 years are going to be good or not, it all depends. The Dolphins, the ones they beat, they're the Dolphins.
Fitzmagic was not around today.
Fitzmagic is a placeholder. We all know that. Fitzmagic is a placeholder for Tua. They're hoping that Magic could come out and maybe win them 2 games. I guarantee you Tua's in the game by week 6.
I don't want him in the game. Not because I don't believe him in or anything. I think he's going to get himself hurt even more. There's nothing to play for this year. There's nothing to throw to except for, Kenny Stills is already out. Devontae Parker. That's his only outlet. I mean,
and Preston Williams, who showed promise, but he's still a little injured right now.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I know players hate hearing this. Tank. Players never tank. Organizations do.
Sure.
I say they should tank, and we should potentially get another first round draft pick, another first pick. Get Tua going with a good receiver. Who knows who's coming out next draft?
Sure. I can agree with that. I mean, I think their fans are going to be calling for Tua. You took him so high. You put a whole franchise on his back, essentially, and they're not going to get to see him for a year.
Yeah.
That's going to be rough. That's going to be a lot of fighting between the fans and the organization. A lot of clamoring.
For sure. Now, moving on to an organization that wasted no time getting their franchise quarterback out the door and bringing in a brand new one, the Cincinnati Bengals and the LA Chargers. Joey Burrow, your thoughts?
He's going to be hot trash.
Why? Why do you think that? Is it because of him or is it because of the Bengals?
I think it's going to be 60% him, 40% the Bengals.
Why?
I simply think that he's going to be hot trash.
Why? Give me a reason. Is this his tangibles? Is this his throwing? Is this his accuracy? What is it?
I think Joe Burrow is going to be one of those QBs who you draft high, a.k.a. Josh Rosen, and you put your faith in because he had one excellent year.
The greatest year in college history.
That's cool. He has to have a NFL career. Not one season.
Okay.
He is going to be hot garbage because the Cincinnati Bengals will not put anything around him. We thought Joe Mixon was going to be a great running back. He's shown that he's been slowed because he's on the Bengals. A.J. Green is still there, but he's old. He is old now.
Tyler Boyd,
that's who you're going to
honestly, I think Tyler Boyd's going to be the next big thing coming in the next 2-3 years.
Yeah, maybe if he gets off the Bengals. Listen.
Joey Burrow with Tyler Boyd, with A.J. Green now leaving. I think you're not putting enough stock. I'm going to buy all my stock on Joe Burrow right now and Tyler Boyd. They're going to be the next duo. It's going to be crazy.
He lost to Tyrod Taylor.
He lost to Joey Bosa.
He lost to Tyrod Taylor.
Oh, my goodness.
He lost to Tyrod Taylor.
Moving on to the overhyped Cardinals.
Overhyped, my ass.
Overhyped with beating the 49ers, who look like they never played a preseason, who'd even do a Zoom call to go through plays.
Yeah, no, the Niners were all over the place on that game. Their running game was decent. Their
Mozart
is one of the...
I botched his name, thank you.
No problem. He's one of the surprises that actually came out for me. I did not think he would be anything. I didn't think he would have the game that he did. I thought that he was going to be a 10-touch back with like 50 yards in this game. I didn't think that he would be...
I mean, that's 5 yards a carry. That's not that bad. But
sure.
Yeah, I mean, Kyler Murray just came out saying, I got a Hall of Famer in Larry. Yep. I got a future Hall of Famer in D-Hop.
Yep.
And he went to work.
He did.
I am very surprised with Kyler. I knew he could run. I knew he could evade. I did not know he could dime it up.
Oh, yeah. No. This is Kyler's breakout season. I don't want to say that he's going to be the level of Lamar Jackson, because I think Lamar Jackson is...
It's a whole different level.
Is far beyond him right now. But I do want to say, in the NFL's future, you have Patrick Mahomes, you have Lamar Jackson, and you have Kyler Murray. That's your future right now. And it's all scary because they're athletic.
Yeah. I think Mahomes is obviously, he's the perfect quarterback where he can run and throw and stay in the pot. Whatever the game needs that day, he's doing it. Moving on. Tampa Bay and the Saints.
You mean Garbage Bay?
The Gronkaneers, my friend.
Yeah. All of that team needs to be thrown out again.
Stop. Why are you... it's just like the 49ers. Give him at least 2 weeks.
We found out this week, folks, that Brady is nothing without Belichick.
No. Oh, my God.
Brady can make simple throws just like any bum off the street. But when you try and make him throw down the field, like I said, like Bruce Arians is going to try and make him do, what does he do? Throw 2 interceptions.
Okay, so what about the throw with Chris Godwin a fade going right to the outside of the end zone? He's dropping him in there. He may not be able to do it like he did in 07 with Randy Moss. I'm telling you, them having a couple losses this year instead of going 16-0 like everyone was predicting, who was dumb. They need a couple losses under their belt. They need to have some adversity. And I think with Mike Evans and Tom Brady when he threw his first pick.
Yep. It was a miscommunication on the route.
And it was Brady's fault. Bruce Arians came out and said Mike Evans read the offense right. But Mike Evans has been in that offense for an extra 2 years.
But here's the thing. If you say Brady is the GOAT like he is, why can't he pick up an offense? Because he's been in the same offense all of his years.
But how are you going to hold that against him? You got to give him at least... He didn't have a preseason or OTAs training camp to even look at the playbook.
You're the GOAT.
He got in trouble for trying to go get the playbook at his offensive coordinator's house.
You're the GOAT.
He is the GOAT.
You need to show up. If your coach is telling you need to throw the ball down 40 yards and you think the best option right now is a slant, guess what? You call a slant if you're the GOAT.
We'll see.
You want to go to a new team with a new coach and a new playbook? No. You can't do it. You tell them.
What's the record? I want it on the record. What do you think Tampa Bay's final record will be?
8-8.
You're going Cowboys. Coach Clapp, 8-8.
8-8.
Guy.
I think they lose their first 3, maybe 4. And then they'll start picking it up.
They're going to go 2-2 in the first 4 games. And they're going to end up with either 11-5 or 10-6. I'm willing to bet 10-6. That's the lowest I'll go.
I think you're banking too high on Brady.
I think you're banking too low, my friend. They just signed Leonard Fournette.
I bet you this. The New England Patriots will have a better record than the Tampa Bay Bucks.
Oh my God. Dude. What?
Yep. I'm telling you
You're
right
telling
now,
me they're going to have better than an 8-8 with the Bills in their division,
Yep.
Miami, who always gives them a fight.
Yep.
Well, the Jets are just a throw-in.
Right.
I
guarantee you that they have a better record.
I'm willing to put a bet on it.
Okay. We'll find something.
FanDuel.
We'll find something to bet on, and we will...
We will come out with the next episode
Yep.
with what we come out, and you are sleeping on Tampa Bay, my friend.
By the way, the other team in that game was the Saints, and they look like the Saints. There's nothing much else to say.
Breeze looks old. Unfortunately, Breeze, I love me some Breeze, but he does not look like the Breeze of old. It looks like Jameis Winston next year is going to be that's going to be the quarterback.
Well, guess what? Breeze didn't leave his team, and Sean Payton knows how to work around that with Breeze.
Oh, God.
Ooh.
Moving on to the 8-8 Cowboys and Rams. I don't really have anything except for Leighton Vander Esch going down for this. I think the Cowboys are going to pick it up. I think they're going to be 9-7. Rams could win, but stop.
Yeah,
Get your draft pick.
Their division is so tough with the new look Cardinals. You have the Seahawks and the trusting of Russell Wilson. You have Jimmy G. They were in the Super Bowl last year. They got to the dance. Not much has changed except for a couple players leaving. It's a rough division. The only thing I feel bad for, Aaron Donald isn't a spring chicken anymore.
No.
He still has years in this league, but
he's got 3 good top DT and then
three. I think
3 where he's at now, and then 6 years in total, and the last 3 are going to be you're going to see the steady decline. But
I think he might be like an Ndamukong Suh type player. Like Ndamukong Suh was not as
cash
dominant.
for hire. He's going to just hop around now.
He might. It might be his best option, just like Jadeveon Clowney's doing.
Clowney is overhyped.
Which we're talking about in this next segment. The Titans and the Broncos. Titans coming out on top. Hard-fought game. Monday night.
Drew Lock is definitely the first hit in the draft that Elway got. Brock Osweiler. I thought Brock was going to be good. He had the whole body type. He looked like an NFL quarterback.
He did.
He just didn't turn out to be one.
Yep, I agree with that. I mean, Drew Lock can be their franchise quarterback right now. He can. Might they look somewhere else? Maybe. I mean, they have a history. Tim Tebow taking you to the playoffs and then saying bye-bye.
Tebow.
I mean, Elway has a weird way with quarterbacks. He wants a tall You saw them draft a 6'8" Paxton Lynch, right? I mean, what is that? What is that? Like,
I mean, you got to be able to see over your line, too.
Fair enough, but God, Kyler Murray's like, what, 5'11" and making plays right now?
He's 5'8". He's 5'8".
Whatever, man. Like, you don't need to see that much over your line.
Yeah.
And even if you can, and you can't read the defense,
but Kyler Murray's running outside, so he doesn't even have to look over the line.
Sure, that's fair. I mean, listen, Broncos are looking, Von Miller's out this year. Broncos, sorry to say, you might just need to take a dive, just a little bit of a dive this year, man. Because you might be another 8-8 team and get one of those middle picks and get nothing for your value, man.
They're gonna go like 3 wins this year, 4 maybe, 4-12.
On the other side, Titans, they're looking like the Titans a little bit. I mean,
linebacker running.
Yeah, Derrick Henry will do his thing. King Henry will be out there mauling people over. Surprisingly, Tannehill
40 throws.
40 throws.
Him and Garoppolo are so similar to me, but they just let the leash off for Tannehill. They said, "Oh, you think he's just a game manager? Here." I mean, that's mostly what he did, but you could see he could throw 40 times and not lose you the game.
I mean, for sure. I think people slept on Tannehill because he was in a bad way with Adam Gase and all those years in Miami, and now he's finally showing that, yes, I was a great caliber quarterback, and I'm here to stay for a little while now. So I'm kind of glad Tennessee moved on from Mariota and is giving Tannehill his shot finally.
Yeah, Mariota was overhyped. Moving on. Big Ben is back, and you are going to eat crow, my friend.
Listen.
Big Ben and the Giants. He's a bad man, my friend. He's Biggie Ben.
I'm sorry, but he played the Giants, which, again, is a football team in the NFL, but they're not at the highest of caliber, which Coach Clapp is there now, so we'll see
he's
what
not
happens.
the defensive coordinator. He's the offensive coordinator.
Listen. You played a Giants team in which you probably can't name me more than 6 or 7 players on the Giants.
Oh, yeah?
Right?
Is that what you think?
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah?
Yes.
Do you want me to name them now?
Go ahead. Name me 6 players on the Giants.
Julian Love.
Sure.
Danny Dimes.
All right.
Sterling Shepard.
Right.
What's that my lineman's name? Patriots. Damn it. I'm forgetting his name. I am totally blanking on his name.
All right. You're still at 3 for me right now.
Oh, what's his name? Bethea. Bethea's still on there.
Is he?
He's mentoring Love.
Okay, you're still like missing the biggest name.
The biggest name?
Yes.
Who's the biggest name?
Are you serious?
Who? Danny Dimes already named him.
Saquon Barkley?
Oh. I guess he's on my fantasy team. I should know.
Yeah, what is that? You can't even start with Saquon. Okay, I'll give you 5. Go ahead. Come on.
We'll end it here.
Oh,
We'll end it here.
So yes, I was right in saying that you can't name me 6 players from the Giants. I can. I definitely can. I know that. So, getting back to it. Steelers looking all right. The Giants looking, nah. I mean...
Giants might make the playoffs.
Yes, in that division...
That's sad.
In that division, anybody can make the playoffs, all right? All right.
Moving on to the best game for us.
The
heartbreaker we almost had.
Oh, my God. We don't deserve that game, but
Bears
I'm so
and
glad we took
Lions.
it. Bears and Lions.
Matthew Stafford, and you almost broke my heart, my friend. You really did. I guess the focus should be Mitchell Trubisky.
Sure.
But it's not. We should have lost. We should have lost.
We have to thank that one wide receiver, I believe it was Swift, who dropped that ball in the end zone.
He's cut. He's going to be cut.
Yeah. Sir, if you need another job, I would start looking on Indeed because there's a rough patch coming for you right now. I do not think Matthew Stafford will trust you anymore. I do not think that the coaches trust you anymore. I do not think your team trusts you anymore. You lost a easy game to win by having the ball in your hand.
No one
in your
touched
chest,
you.
And you dropped it. You turned. You tried to run. You did something. You lost focus, and that's where you messed up. That is where you messed up. But
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, we're going with the Mitch. I mean, he looked like a high school quarterback the first 3 quarters, and then all of a sudden he turned to Tom Brady. I don't know what else to say. He just turned it up in the fourth quarter, and finally, thank you. 3-4 years later, thank you, second pick in the draft. Thank you.
Listen. Mitch versus Nick has been going on this whole offseason. I can firmly say, and this was not my belief going into this year, I can firmly say after watching that game, and this isn't a hype train, I can firmly say that I am in support of Mitch Trubisky now. He did not look horrible. And no, that's not how you should rate your quarterback if they look horrible or not.
The second overall pick.
Listen, there's a lot of draft picks from the past that have gone exceptionally high and has not panned out.
Yeah, we're one of them.
It's unfortunate. Shit, Kevin White. I'm sorry. Kevin White. What was he, a 7th pick?
Yep.
And look how that turned out. It happens, folks. It happens. But after reviewing the game, after watching the game, seeing Mitch dropping in some balls, it looked better. His mechanics looked better.
Did you see all the ducks he threw to Allen Robinson?
But he could do that. It's Allen Robinson. Did you see that throw he made to Anthony Miller in the corner of the end zone?
Great. What'd he do? You're supposed to do that.
You're supposed to do that?
Yes. You're supposed to do that as an NFL quarterback.
Sir, you need to stop judging him so harshly. They won a game, right?
They won a game we should have lost.
They won a game we should have lost, but we won it. You know why? It wouldn't have been his fault either. The defense would have been at fault. Mitch came back in the fourth quarter.
What about the first 3 quarters? He could have scored.
But who gave up the points too?
Yeah, right.
The defense.
But who gets all the blame and all the praise? It's always the quarterbacks.
The defense gave up going into the half, the defense gave up an easy touchdown. That should never have happened. They look gassed. I understand. It's probably because the Bears were going 3 and out most times. I get it. But that does not happen. Your defense looks average at best right now. And I'll give every team a little leeway right now.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't have a preseason. You had a very shortened minicamp and OTAs. I get it. There's some rust to knock off. But I'm just saying, from abysmal Mitch Trubisky last year, this was a showing that he's competent. That he is competent and can possibly run this.
I'm glad we're having our competent quarterback. So glad. Give me Nick.
You want Nick.
Throw in Nick, please, for the love of God. Throw in Nick. We don't even have a first round. We can't even tank for Fields or Lawrence.
That's fine.
We have to look like we're a competent team to bring anyone here. So give me Nick. People are going to see Mitch and be like, bro, 4 years and you're still trying to get this project off? I don't know.
I mean...
Maybe I'll change my mind. Maybe I'll eat crow in a couple weeks.
Hopefully. I mean, they have...
Hopefully. I mean...
they have the Giants coming up. They have Atlanta coming up. I mean, there's... Not the hardest of tests, but there's some tests coming up.
The thing about the Giants, they have a homer here on their team, and he plays exceptionally well every time he's averaging an interception.
Yeah, Julian Love is showing out, so, Mitch better watch out for Julian Love and, maybe steer away from him a little bit. But,
It's hard when you're just a hound like that. Man's going to... I'm not doing it just because he's a homer. He's going to be good.
Oh, yeah. Julian Love.
He's going to be good. Moving on. Now we're switching sports. We are going into basketball with the bubble. Clips versus Nuggets tonight.
Game 7.
I don't know. I have a funny feeling that the Nuggets, Jokic is going to pull a Joker card on him.
You think so?
I don't know. The safe bet is to put the Clips.
Sure.
But they just took 2 games in a row, down by double digits, and they come back and take their heart out. The Nuggets are no joke.
No, the Nuggets are no joke. Jamal Murray, coming up star in this league. He is a star already.
He's not a star. He's a good point guard.
He's a star. You just hate him.
I don't hate him. He's just not what I see. I don't know. He's just not what I see in a point guard. Dame Lillard, that's a point guard.
He's exactly like Dame Lillard, only can make better shots at the rim. That's it. He is exactly like Dame Lillard.
Dude, you're gonna catch so much heat.
That's fine.
I'm gonna laugh.
People want to talk about Damian Lillard and how good he is. Show me the rings.
Show me the rings, Murray. He's not even the number 1 option on his team.
How old is Damian Lillard compared
29.
to Jamal Murray?
29 to 24.
3 or 4? Right. He has time to grow.
But he's not even the number 1 option. It's Jokic. And then Michael Porter Jr.
No.
Jeez. Michael Porter Jr., I don't like him either, but he's turning out.
Oh, yeah.
I think he's just...
I mean, it's playoff basketball.
Yeah, but he's just a cocky little kid, and I don't like that.
It's playoff basketball.
No, pre-draft, he was cocky. I don't like that. I want the Kobe's. I want the guy who's gonna just put his head down, let his work show. Michael, I don't know. I mean, he's doing well. I can't knock him. He's just not my cup of tea.
Listen, rest in peace to Kobe. Love you. You're a legend. But just like every other sport, basketball is evolving. Evolving. The only reason LeBron's still good is because he's a tank. That's it.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing.
I mean, the man can pull up and shoot now, finally, after how many years in the league? But
he's been able to shoot since Miami. Not like this, but he's been able to pull up since Miami. Since Spoelstra and the Heat organization, just in general, got a hold of him and made him work, and D Wade, he's been able to really evolve his game.
Sure. I can agree with that.
Just not his free throws.
Yeah, that's the whole Laker team on their free throws is a little abysmal.
AD's the best one. He's the tallest guy in the That's sad.
That's because AD is a freak of nature, all right?
Chi-Town for you.
Yeah, for sure. So, who else do we have in here?
I mean, who's your prediction? I'm gonna go surprisingly Nuggets tonight.
You're going Nuggets tonight?
I'm going
you think the Nuggets are going to advance?
I think George Paul is gonna come out and put 8 points up. And I think Jokic is going to come out and put 33.
That's a really bold prediction. I am going to tell you that Kawhi Leonard will not let this team lose. Just like he won a championship with the Raptors, he will not let this team lose.
I mean, I hope so, because I want them to win the chip. I want the Clips to win.
That would be nice.
But I just don't want... Man, Bron's going to complain his way to another title.
No.
God.
Listen, it's going to be the ultimate clash. Now you're not even fighting for a world title. You're fighting for
a city title at that point.
You're fighting for a city title. You're fighting just to get in the title shot with LeBron. Kawhi and LeBron are going to have a great matchup. I think if the Nuggets move past, LeBron's going to tear them apart. LeBron's going to just move them aside and say, no, I'm not going to do that.
So what do you think about the Heatles? The Heat and the Boston Celtics.
Jimmy gets buckets. That's what it is. Jimmy gets buckets. He has a young, hungry team around him. They're just thriving right now. They're thrashing. They have all this rest going into this. They're ready. They're hyped. They're coming out swinging, and I hope Boston's ready.
I would love to agree with you because I love Jimmy Buckets. Boston's just too deep. I think Kemba's going to be the guy who's a real momentum swing here. I think Boston and Lakers, because I think the Nuggets are going to win tonight. I think Lakers will beat the Nuggets. So I'm going Lakers, Boston, with Boston to pull it out.
I think tonight the Clippers are going to win. They're going to advance. I think the Clippers are going to win in 6.
The championship?
No.
Or
versus
just the
Lakers.
Okay.
Clippers in 6 versus the Lakers. I think Heat in 7 versus the Celtics.
Whoa.
Heat in 7 versus the Celtics. You have a Clippers Heat championship.
Okay, so who do you think is winning? Clips?
See, here's my thing. My gut's telling me Clips. My heart's telling me...
Are you riding the Heat all the way?
I might be riding the Heat all the way.
Wow. If you ride the Heat, I'll do something. If the Heat win it all, we'll put something on it.
I'm winning. I'm with Jimmy. He deserves a ring. He is one of the hardest working NBA players. He is the most grueling person out there, day in, day out. He is willing this young team to get there and win because Jimmy knows he probably doesn't have a lot more time the way he plays. The way he plays.
I think he's got till 35. I think he's 30 right now. He's got 5 more years.
But
as Jimmy.
As Jimmy right now?
As Jimmy, he's got 5 more years, and I think if he wants to play to 38, 39, doubtful. But I think he could be a good back. He could probably be like a good veteran, maybe like, I'm blanking on his name. Steven Jackson. He could probably be like him. in his later career.
Okay. I think he might be more, well, as a later career, he might be more of an Iggy type. Just your come in and I'm going to do everything. Now he could score more,
he's
for
not
sure.
But he's not as long and bulky like him. He's more wiry. But, it's just, we'll see in 8 years.
Yeah, we'll see in multiple years for Jimmy Butler. So, what's your prediction on the whole grand scheme of the NBA right now?
What do you mean, for the playoffs?
Yes.
I just said it. I think it's going to be Boston and...
Are you giving me any games here? In game one?
I'll give you... If it's Nuggets versus Lakers, I'm going 6 games late.
So you're saying that the Nuggets are about to beat the Clippers tonight?
Yeah, that's what I predicted.
Okay.
So I'm going Lakers, Nuggets, and Lakers pull it out in 6. I'm going Boston in 5.
Boston
a gentleman's sweep.
5.
And I'm going Boston in 6 in the championship.
You think Boston's taking it all?
I think Boston's going to take it all. Unless it's the Clips coming out. The only reason I think the Clippers are not going to pull this one out, their heart's taken out for the series. They've only been looking at the Lakers all year. But if they get a hold of the Lakers, if for some reason the Nuggets Odell this, the Clips are going to bash the Lakers. They are going to throw them around. It's going to be like a stepdad with a redheaded stepchild. It's going to be horrible for the Lakers.
Yeah, I want to say that the Lakers always have a shot, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Lakers always have a shot. But it's simply because of LeBron. AD, sure. Yeah, you throw
I think it's because of AD. There's no one who they can match up. Not even Jokic. Jokic is a great offensive threat, but you can't guard AD. AD, if he wants to, could put up 40 and 20 every game. He just has to want to.
That's very true. We'll see how it all plays out tonight. We'll come at you with an update when we record our next podcast. Hopefully, we'll see who's right. My Kawhi versus your Jokic.
I'm hoping for the Clippers to win, but I just don't think they will. That's why I'm going Nuggets. But moving on, We're bringing it back home for us. In the first time in MLB history, ladies and gentlemen, the Chicago Cubs and the Chicago White Sox both threw a no-hitter in the same season. This is the first time in MLB history that two teams in the same city in the same year do such a thing, and now they're both in first place.
Both in first place. Respectable first place, too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's I don't know if it's too early to say. We have playoffs right around the corner. But Chicago World Series? All Chicago World Series?
Maybe, but I think this year and next year are your best chances because, at least for both teams.
Okay.
For the Sox point of view, in my opinion, your ownership's going to get in your way. They're very cheap. They don't like to pay.
Right.
They need to pay. Everybody. Everyone on this Sox team, unfortunately for me, because I'm a Cubs fan, is amazing. Eroy Jimenez. Yes. You stole him from us.
Yes, we did.
I'm not regretful for the trade because we got a World Series out of it. But, yeah, I'll definitely take Jimenez over Quintana.
You look at the White Sox roster. You look at the White Sox roster and the Cubs roster. You have the experienced. We've been to the dance before. Mm-hmm. We know how to do this. We're going to come out and we're going to come at you, Cubs.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the other side, you have the young scrappers from the South Side who everyone said should be good, came out, shit the bed a little bit, and then picked it up. And now we're climbing.
You guys remind me of the 2014 Cubs when they faced the Mets. When, Back to the Future predicted, they're going to win it this year. And everyone's like, oh, my God, they're going to. And then the Mets just ended up taking it. We were too young at the time.
Sure.
So I think you remind me of that. If you guys can pull it out and the Cubs can pull it out. Our biggest threat, Dodgers.
Sure.
No question.
Our biggest threat, Yanks?
Yeah, they're struggling a little bit. But, all rise for the judge. You can't just beat him. I know he had a suspension, but all rise for the judge.
That's the thing. We're going to go against essentially the team of baseball.
Astros might be your biggest one, even though they're cheaters.
Yeah,
They're your biggest. I mean, they have Greinke and Verlander.
Yeah.
Pitching is all that matters in the playoffs.
Yeah, pitching is 100%, which is kind of why I'm scared for you. Because
our
after
bullpen
you,
will never
Darvish and Hendricks and all them, it's...
No, I mean, I'm cool with our rotation.
Sure.
We got Lester, Darvish, Hendricks, Quintana. The fifth guy is, whoever we plug in at the time.
Right.
I'm cool, but we usually always go down to a 4-man rotation anyway.
Right.
I'm scared of our bullpen. Pedro Strop is, I think we re-signed him again, but he's not what he used to be. Craig Krimble's not the Boston Craig Krimble. And we don't have Aroldis Chapman anymore. We are very thin in our bullpen, so that's what I'm afraid of. I'm hoping the Cubs just come out with something. We sign somebody. But I don't think there's anyone really out there that will turn the needle.
I agree with you. I mean, it's going to be a hard-fought battle. So, we're going to need to see how this all turns out. We're just telling you, Chicago, please be civil. If there's a all Chicago World Series, please be civil out there. I know that there's fights.
I'm not going to be civil. Come on.
I know that there's going to be fights out there, but you have to think about it. All Chicago World Series is going to be nuts, and it's going to be prosperous for no matter who wins. It's going to be prosperous for both teams.
Well, that was our Chicago. Now we're going to be more broad. We're going to take it back before we end this episode today. Fantasy sleepers, anyone that you would pick up in the league right now?
So, fantasy sleepers. We're going to do this periodically, folks, where we get into our fantasy talk. It's fantasy football. Everyone plays. Everyone loves it. Some sleepers, I mean, they're not really sleepers. You got Sammy Watkins, who showed out this week. He's now the definitive number 2. I was scared McCole Hartman was going to take it. Sure. That's why I didn't draft either of them. Right.
But, yeah, it's Sammy. It's still Sammy.
I think it's a good way, either way you put it. You take a slice of that pie. Take a slice of that Kansas City pie. You're going to get some points at some point.
For me, you went wide receiver. Sure. I'm going to go QB. I think your dark horse is Gardner Minshew. Gardner Minshew is definitely going to... It looks like he has nothing, but him and Chark is going to be a really good duo this year. Not going to get you, what you want, your starting QB, but it's going to be a good backup when you need a replacement for your bye week.
I could agree with that. I mean, Minshew will definitely... If you want to pick him up, if you think that your quarterback won't have a great bye week and Minshew is playing a decent team that week, I would go all in on Minshew for that 1 week. Let's see. I'm going to switch the gear over here to running back.
Okay.
Keel Hines. I mean, it's not really a sleeper. It's someone who you need to grab if you're a low team, if you lost this week, if you're the last team, if you're a first team on the waiver wire, and you need a running back, go grab him.
So I found out the name of that receiver, DeAndre Swift. If you had him in fantasy, he put up good points, 11.3.
Oh.
He would have had a really good game if he caught that TD.
Sure. But, let's stay away from him because I feel like he might not.
Let's stay away from DeAndre.
I feel like he might not get a lot of touches.
So, switching over for me for tight ends, I think Noah Fant is going to have a really good year with Drew Lock. Noah Fant is the clear number 1 tight end. And in a city like that where they always they don't have a clear number 1 wide receiver all the time, and you always need a safety valve, I think Noah Fant's a good 5-yard TD option every time.
Okay, I'm going to throw 3 names out at you right now. I'm going to give you a little stats on them.
Okay.
Just how they performed. You tell me which one you would take.
Okay.
You have Jamison Crowder from the New York Jets.
Yep.
Alan Lazard from the Packers.
Green Bay Packers, yeah.
And Valdez-Scantling from the Packers. So I'm throwing you at... Give me a second. So, Crowder, he caught 7 of 13 targets for 115 yards and a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
You got Lazard, who did... Oops, I'm sorry. Clicked the wrong one. Lazard, who caught 4 targets, all 4 of his targets, for 63 yards and 1 touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have Valdez-Scantling, who caught 4 of 6 targets for 96 yards and 1 touchdown.
I'm going with Lazard. Lazard, just because Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers are obviously going to be the premier duo. But the weeks that Devontae get hurt or they're doubling him, Lazard's the number 2 there. Lazard's going to be catching a lot. With Aaron Rodgers mad this year, he's not going to miss him. Going with Lazard as my sleeper.
Out of those 3, I would have picked Jamison Crowder. He's the number 1 for that Jets.
He is, but
he's going to be catching all your passes. He had a great week in fantasy. It's just a matter if you trust the Jets and you trust Darnold.
I trust Darnold. I don't trust Adam Gase.
He's a great flex play.
Mm-hmm.
He's a great I need a wide receiver for this week play.
Yep.
So you can roster him if you want.
And our last sleeper pick for defense, I'm going with Tampa Bay. They didn't show out the first week, but Tampa Bay last year had one of the highest rated defenses all year. And this year they only got better, especially with Tom Brady being managing the clock a lot. I think Tampa Bay is going to be a really good pick. Even if just keeping you at 10 points all year, they might even get you some points.
I can agree with that. You know, they had decent defense last year. They didn't show out versus Saints, but again, it's the Saints. They're going to put up points. Don't go on a fire sale just yet. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this was our first episode ever of the Ballz Deep podcast.
Thank you for joining us. We will be putting out weekly content every Wednesday. We'll be giving you predictions and recap going forward for each NFL week every Wednesday.
We're also going to be throwing in the mix with MLB coming to the playoffs now. We're going to have your little coverage of the NBA with the championship. And don't think that we forgot you, NHL fans. We see you. We understand that you're about to go to the great Stanley Cup. Dallas Stars already made it. We're going to see the Tampa Bay Lightning and New York.
The COVID Cup.
So we're going to get you in there. Don't you fret. We're going to tell you about all the big fights coming up too. We want to thank you for listening to the Ballz Deep podcast.